You have seen some success, but it just doesn't feel like as expected. It feels normal, it kind of just doesn't feel like as amazing as expected, and that makes it a bummer, and maybe it even feels shallow. Maybe your life even feels shallow because you had this worldview and those values and you thought this is really it and I'm striving towards this, and your identity is so entangled within those values, and now you kind of opened that nut and you notice, oh, it's a hollow nut. That's not even worthwhile striving towards. But at the same time, you also don't know what to strive towards instead. You didn't build yet any new set of values at this point. You're kind of like in between, and this makes you feel lost, maybe even depressed, but at least you definitely feel it's shallow, it's meaningless in some way. Here's the reason. First of all, we have to understand a very important concept. There are ends values and there are means values. Ends values are values that you truly love from the bottom of your heart, and if you embody those, you actually find purpose and meaning. For example, beauty. For example, you're an artist, probably you really value beauty. Or justice, maybe you're a lawyer and you really value justice. Or simplicity, clarity, it could be even productivity if you really enjoy that. But then there are also other kind of values which are means values. Basically, those are values which are simply a means to an end. In fact, they are not even really values. For example, traveling. You could say, oh no, I really value traveling. Traveling is just a means to an end. It gets you to an actual value. For example, it would be freedom. You actually value freedom, and you could embody this by traveling. So if you actually really say, well, freedom is an important part in my life, and I think traveling would help me to get freedom. If you would travel, you would actually be really happy. But not because you embody the traveling value, it's just this is a means to an end to feel free at the end of the day. Now, a lot of people follow their lower needs and they just think, oh, money is a value, also a means to an end value. Maybe you feel safe then, or maybe you feel free, or maybe you're just insecure and you just want money and want some approval. That's, by the way, most people who feel shallow because of their successes, because they were just striving for money and power, and they thought this would actually resolve their deep insecurities. And in fact, they just need therapy and work on their mommy and daddy issue that they haven't resolved. Their entire childhood was maybe messed up. Maybe their father was not really loving. Maybe their mother was depressed or not there, or there was some divorce happening or whatever it is that made you feel insecure. And you thought, oh, if I'm just successful, people will love me. And then you figure out, oh, if I'm becoming successful and I share even my success, it actually creates distance. Maybe I feel more lonely. Maybe I attract more people that are just liking me because of the money, and it feels shallow. So the bottom line is, means to an ends values are often not a good idea. You gotta ask the second question of what is behind that means. And if you say, hey, I value money, but then you notice, no, I actually just want to feel confident, that's not maybe even a value, you just got to do the deeper work, then of course it feels shallow. If your value is maybe safety, feeling psychologically safe, and you think money will get there, and then you figure out you have 3 million and it's still not a feeling of safety and ease, it's probably the wrong means to the end. So usually people just pick means to the end values without thinking about their actual values, and it's just a random shot in the darkness, and it usually doesn't fulfill them, but they identify so much, and at the end of the day they notice, oh, that's not what I wanted. A second reason why your success might feel shallow is maybe you actually picked an ends value, but it's not yours. Maybe it's the one of your parents. Maybe your parents really want you to have safety, and this is a value. You think, oh, I also need this safety value, and then you embody it and get a safe and decent job, and you steadily invest in your ETFs, and you're doing everything right on the paper, but you're not happy because those are actually not your ends values that you really value. That's the bottom line. Probably you haven't even reflected generally on your values in your life. And that's probably also the reason why you're lost. And though good on you, because you watched this video until here and you basically noticed it feels shallow. This is not the answer. This is some sort of enlightening happening here. It's like 1% of being enlightened, of like, this is not it. Interesting. And your horizon widens and you're just in this phase right now where you feel lost and you don't know though what's next. And you actually got to do the deeper work. And that's the key, to really figure out your values. By the way, you could even schedule a call with me. I work out values with people. In fact, if we would work together, we would basically have a 2-pager at the end of the day. One about like the life purpose, what you really want to do with your life, and the other one would be simply your top 10 values. We would define them, prioritize them, and really have a very clear understanding of what you really value in life. You could even make life decisions within a minute because you reflected so much on this, went back and forth and went through the system of really being very clear of what you want in life, and therefore really very clearly make huge life decisions of like, oh no, because I value this one a little more and I would like to have this value a little more in my life and this one a little less. Okay, so it seems like we're going left, seems like we're going right, seems like we're moving the country, seems like we're changing jobs, seems like we're saying no to this client because it doesn't really fit to my values. And if you would read that page, if you would actually give this page a stranger, they would know you more than your parents, because that's the essence of who you are at this point in your life. Values change, of course, over time. It's also a point. But they're generally rather stable. So over years, of course, maybe priorities change, maybe a new one kicks in. But generally, it's a good point to start and do the reflection here. So if you're curious, just schedule a call or do the work on your own. But you have to ask yourself, am I dealing with means values? Is this actually giving me what I'm really desiring, this ends value? And what are even my ends values? Are those even mine? Are those based on some deep insecurities I have? I just got to do therapy. Are those based on society or based on my parents or somebody else that expects me to do that and pressures me and manipulates me into thinking that this is actually me? Because it's not. And you've got to start asking yourself the deeper questions. Who are you? And why do you really want to do what you're doing?